Hello, and welcome to the professional development over the topic FERPA. Let's first start by breaking down what FERPA is. FERPA stands for Family, Educational Rights, and Privacy Act. FERPA is an area where widespread confusion still remains. This presentation will give local leaders and law enforcement and teachers the tools they will need to protect student privacy while ensuring the health and safety of students and others in the school community. So let's ensure compliance. Number 1, raise FERPA awareness. Number 2, how FERPA applies to you. Number 3, know the rights, protections, and exceptions to FERPA. Number 4, choose compliant vendors. 5, train all school employees. Number 6, implement policies and procedures. Number 7, encrypt files and emails. And number 8, implement other presentation tools that will help us comply with FERPA. So the legal definition of FERPA is the federal law that protects the privacy of student education records maintained by or on behalf of educational agencies or institutions. FERPA applies to all educational agencies and institutions that receive funds under any program administered by the Secretary of Education. FERPA affords parents certain rights with respect to their child's education records maintained by these agencies and institutions which FERPA applies. These include the right to inspect and review their child's education records, to seek to have their educational records amended, and to have control over the disclosure of their education records or personally identifiable information. These rights do transfer to students when he or she reaches the age of 18. So, to reiterate, the rights under FERPA go to the parents on the behalf of their child, students who are 18 years or older, or any guardian or parent who claims their children as dependents on taxes. So the parents' rights. They have the right to inspect and review their child's education records at any given time. If there are any corrections that need to be made, they have the right to amend the records. They do have some control over the disclosure of the educational records, and they can prevent disclosure of any identifiable information of education records. This, however, does not mean directory information. So let's break down what educational records are. Educational records can hold transcripts, health records, disciplinary records, progress reports, attendance, fingerprints, any information that ties to a specific student. So then what is a directory information? This could be a student's name, their address, phone, email addresses, photographs, date of birth, field of study, grade level. The list goes on. In order to disclose any information of educational records, you must first know who is requesting to receive the personal identifiable information. It is your legal responsibility as schools and teachers to write down these people or agencies' names. They also must provide a legitimate interest for the requisition information. If they have not gotten consent by the parent or eligible student, they must get a consent from them first before you can share any information with them. However, schools and districts do not have to record any requests if they are from the parent, the eligible student, any school official, or any party that has a written consent already from the parent or eligible student. There are exceptions to FERPA. Schools can disclose directory information, like stated previously. Again, this does not include like social security numbers or any personal identifiable information. However, it is required that they give parents and eligible students time to request the school to not disclose any directory information. So this means whenever you have opt-out information that you send out to parents, such as surveys or any information, photos being taken, you must give the parents and those eligible students time to say, yes, you can disclose this information, or no, I do not wish for my child's information to be disclosed. Some other exceptions are when schools must comply with judicial orders. So in certain conditions, law enforcement officials can request education records without consent. If it is a health or safety emergency, if the student is engaged in a crime of violence, if Homeland Security or ICE Bureau reaches out with court orders. So FERPA and immigration tie in together because all state and local educational institutions are required to provide all children the equal access to education at the elementary and secondary level. When families sign up for enrollment, they do not have to disclose their citizenship status in order for their child to get enrolled in the school. ICE Bureau can only be allowed to have a student's records if they have a court order or a subpoena that is compliant with FERPA. So how does FERPA affect your classroom? Well, today, technology is everywhere in the classroom, whether it's using certain apps or using software. We must be careful for what technology and programs we are presenting to our students. Make sure that when you're using any type that it doesn't require any personal identifiable information of your students in order for them to sign up, such as they must have their social security number. Okay? Make sure you keep the students' data secure. And overall, respond to access requests. So make sure that we send out those permission sheets to our parents that the student can use it if there's going to be any personal information going into that. FERPA and surveillance footage. Just as I said, technology is everywhere. This also includes our security systems. Schools are locking down on having cameras in the hallways, having them out in the parking lot. Under FERPA, school cameras are school records if they are directly related to a student. So that means if any footage is used for disciplinary actions, if it's looking for identifiable information, the recording is in the result of showing a student violating a law or getting injured, anything to those circumstances. If the main focus is to identify where that specific student was at a certain time. So with that said, what is the best practice for data destruction? There are 5 key components to capture your data, organize your data, utilize the data, manage it, and then destroy it. So what that means is overall, FERPA does not require any time that the school has to retain the records. It only advises that they destroy the records once the records are no longer needed. For example, I know at our district, it is a policy we have that once the student graduates high school, their records will be secured for 7 years, and then be destroyed. Parents or student have until that 7th year to claim any records that they would like. So there are 3 data destruction categories. So there's clearing. So this is just sanitizing that app, making sure the user addresses the protection against any data recovery techniques. You have a purge method. This is a physical or logical techniques that the render target data recovery is infeasible. So you can't retrieve the data once the memory has been wiped, or destroy. So this is just making sure that no storage of any data can be recovered. So unfortunately, there have been violations of FERPA. In 2020, U.S. Supreme Court ruled that individuals do not have the right to sue under FERPA, however, if they feel that their rights have been violated. Instead, they must file a complaint with the Family Policy Compliance Office of the U.S. Department of Education. From there, they will investigate, process, review, and adjust and determine if there are any violations from the complaints. Files that have been found to be in violation of FERPA, an institution can be cut off from federal funding. So some common violations of FERPA: vendors, like I said, technology is everywhere. When we're using the free apps that offer free services, they could also be stealing educational records or getting data in order to sell to third parties. They releasing or withholding records. Someone asks you about a certain student and you take out their file, they might not have that clearance to do so. You must make sure that they are a school official, a parent, or that eligible student if you're going to do that. To whom you tell. As teachers, we talk about our days sometimes, and if there's a certain incident that went on. For example, Sally got hurt on the playground and you're talking about it to someone else. You're already identifying that student. So again, who enforces FERPA? It is the Family Policy Compliance Office. If you have any questions about our policies at CREST, please visit our website, www.usd479.org. And remember, always ask questions when it comes to FERPA. Here are some great references, and I hope you walked away with some useful information.